All the rolling go, where am I to go? Meet Johnny, where am I to go? For I'm a young and a sailor lad, and where am I to go?
Hello, and welcome to Where Am I to Go podcast. Today, before we start the show, I would like to bring up some business things that have kind of been on my mind so that you can know where to get more Where Am I to Go. First off, I'd like to talk about the Facebook page at Where Am I to Go podcast. It's on Facebook, and we've been posting some wonderful pictures of some of the places that we've been and some of the adventures that we've had. Not everything that we go and do is made into a podcast, and so we take pictures at different places and post those pictures so that you guys can enjoy some of the different places we've been. Also, I really am interested in listener feedback. I have an email address at whereamiitogopodcast@gmail.com. Again, that is whereamiitogopodcast@gmail.com. I would love to hear some of the listeners' comments and some of their ideas of places that might be interesting to visit and go and do. I'm on kind of a limited travel schedule as far as the way that I travel and where I go, but if there's something extremely interesting, I would definitely do my best to build a trip around it. And the last thing, and the latest thing, is that I now have a Patreon account where if you want to hear the podcast early, you can go to Patreon/Loren Alberts, sign up for $3, $5, $10, whatever dollars if you were willing to support what I do and help us with our travel expenses and some of that kind of stuff. I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. But what we're going to do is right now I have several podcasts that are banked, I guess you could say. I'm on, I think, number 17, 18, 19, somewhere in there, and I've got close to 35 that I have waiting to go out. I only put out about every week because I want to be able to keep a nice steady stream and not have a point in time when we have to shut down like a lot of other podcasts do for season 1, season 2. I'd like to keep this thing going year round. And I've been traveling quite a bit and have been hitting quite a few interesting places. We've been to a tattoo museum. We've been to the beach and have gone to several tourist attractions there, an underground tour. We did a cannery tour. We've just done all kinds of things, and I would love for you to be able to hear those early. So if you sign up with the Patreon, as soon as my editor Steve gets these things ready to go out, they will be put up on the Patreon page. And again, I would really appreciate your support. Now that I've got those things out of the way, I hope to hear from you, and I hope you keep on listening. And now, let's get on with the podcast. Hello, and welcome to Where Am I to Go podcast. This morning we are at Sunrise Iron, and Earl has a place that he has all kinds of farm equipment. And I was told by many people that I needed to go talk to Earl to do my next podcast. I guess he's got quite a bit of restored stuff. We have not looked at anything. Earl is on a tight schedule as he is helping farm. And so this is probably going to be kind of a quick podcast. But Earl, let's take a look at what you've got. And on our way, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do and why you're here?
My name's Erl McLaughlin, and I moved here to Enterprise, Oregon at about 1973 or 4 after I graduated from college at Gunnison, Colorado. And I'm currently raising about 600 acres of dark northern spring wheat. And at 4,000 foot elevation, winters are long, and so in 1983, I just started collecting iron, agriculture-related iron. And along on this ditch bank here, we've got some of my, what I call yard art, and there may be something of interest here. When people come to Sunrise Iron, we usually walk down along here and they point out things, and that's how I learned stuff about this stuff that I didn't grow up with. And the more you know about a piece, the more interesting it gets.
Now, is this a compressor like for a milk machine?
Yes, it is there, Loren.
Okay.
Yeah, I just rather recently acquired that a couple weeks ago.
And you've got all kinds of pieces coming down here.
Yeah, I do. Just bits and pieces off of steam engines, and
You've got a forge blower, you've got some wagon wheels,
wheels,
you've got an old winch, some plow blades, tractor seats, the old metal tractor seats, grindstone.
A stump puller, part of a reaper, some slickers or real early rod weeders, post drills.
What is this?
That's a pump to pump water.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've got a thing here to make acetylene. I like pieces of cast. It's got writing on them. It's got the 100-year-old farm between on them. I got plows that were made in a blacksmith shop. Saw blade was for the Willamette Valley.
Now this saw blade, this has got to be 6 foot.
Yeah, 6 foot in diameter.
It's 6 foot in diameter. This is a huge saw blade.
I got a walk-behind road grader that was made in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Still got the tag on it. I got plows that were made in the blacksmithing shops. I got horse-drawn road graders that I got out of the Tri-Cities area up the Snake River by the Ice Harbor Dam. I got a cultivator here.
An old horse-drawn cultivator.
I got a reaper here that Cyrus McCormick made history in 1831 to develop the concept of a reaper. I've got a real early little grass seed drill here. I've got one of these plows that are stump or rock plows, and the Yamhill County Museum in Yamhill has got one of these, and I got one, and that's by research. That's what they are stump and rock plows. Go out and
that thing's huge. It looks like the old ox-drawn or horse-drawn plow that the farmer walked behind, but this thing's
huge.
Probably 3 or 4 times the size.
Yeah.
And that would actually pull stumps out of the ground.
Yeah, well, yeah, see, you got something here to root the rocks out. That'll root rocks out, and this will cut roots off.
Okay, so you got a blade down there on the bottom.
Blade.
You've got your plow blade, and then you've got a cross blade that that sticks out on a triangle that's sharpened.
That's the biggest moldboard I've ever seen. I think it'd take a 75 or 100 horsepower tractor to pull that if you could get it in the ground.
Yeah.
I've got disc plows here. I got a little plow here that come off the reversible disc plow that come off the middle fork of the John Day River. And of course the cast iron seat was gone, so I had to get one out of my collection and put on it. I got a feed grinder. I got a early hard rubber tired front axle off of a truck. I got a two-way plow. Got a little feed grinder. I got a thing to take the hair off of pigs.
Okay, now just a second. Let's talk about this thing to take the hair off of pigs.
Yeah. So
this is a big machine. This one's probably 5 foot tall, 5 foot wide. It's chain driven, and how does it work? These rubber arms come around and slap, kind of like a chicken plucker.
Yeah. You dap that pig in a vat of hot water, and then you lay him right in there. And when this thing was operable, these were flexible, and it would just gently take the hair off of a pig.
Okay, so the pig laid inside the machine there, and on the kind of curved metal pieces, and then that other piece came on around and just took the hair off. Okay.
I got a horse-drawn hay tedder here that's really hard to find. I got a nice original wooden box grain drill here that got donated to Sunrise Iron, and I haven't had this piece very long. It's a loose hay loader that your tractor would be up here in front, and you'd have a wagon, and then you'd have this thing here, and you'd drive over the windrow, and then this thing would pick that loose hay up, auger it back up onto the back of the wagon, and I'm trying to leave the moss and the lichens on it, and won't want to touch it. Want to just leave it like it was originally.
So this was like a pulled overshot.
Yeah, pulled overshot. Yeah.
That would stack. It would put the hay and pick it up off the field and move it on up over and stack it loosely in the back of a truck.
Yeah, and then we'll walk up here and we'll look at some of my pieces that I'm planning on not restoring up here, complete pieces. But I like to leave the 100-year-old farm between and the lichens and the moss on some of this stuff, so it's in its working clothes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you restore pieces also?
Yeah, inside my facility here, we'll look in there here in a little bit, and we'll see some of my restored and unrestored stuff. There's a real fine line there on whether you should touch something or not, and you wouldn't want to devalue it. Yeah, so.
Oh, it's cool to see it in this form also.
Yeah. So I've got a little bit of everything out here. I've got grain drills. I've got 1-horse mowers, which are really hard to find. 1-horse mower has to have a cutter bar at least 4 foot or less, more like 3.5 or 4. If you went to 4 and over, the side draft is too much. So if you ever find a mower with a short cutter bar, it's highly desirable, and that would classify as a 1-horse.
Okay.
I got a tire shrinker here to shrink the wheels on wagons.
And what they did with the wheels on wagons is they would make their wood wheel, and then they would
put the steel on it.
Put the steel on it, and then shrink that down.
Yeah. When you run this steel over them rough, rocky roads, the steel would swell and it'd fall off the felloes. So you'd heat your wheel up in a forge, and then you'd set it here, and the wheel would set in here just like this, and you'd clamp that in, and then you'd move this thing here, and that moves that turntable, and that would shorten the circumference of the radius. And this was made in Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Now, would they have to re-weld the metal wheel, or they just had it hot and then they would just shrink it down?
They would mushroom it out, and then grind the mushroom off.
And then as it cooled, it shrunk more, which would pull all those wooden spokes tight.
Yeah, the fellows. Here's a stationary baler that was made in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and you'd use a steam engine to run it. I've got a little bit of everything out here. I've got disc plows and bottom plows and feed grinders and dough makers, road graders, homemade weed sprayers, stationary balers, water wagons, horsepowers.
What's a wooden, round wooden?
That's a weed sprayer that come out of Murphy, Idaho to spray weeds in an orchard. And there was a 1-cylinder motor and a piston pump on there, but of course that's long gone.
But the wood barrel's still there. Yeah.
I've got a piece here that's kind of interesting, and not many people know what it is. It's a dough maker, and it come out of a big dough factory in Portland, Oregon. I've had it about 10 years, and it's got a wooden pulley on it, so that means it's run off of a line shaft off of a boiler.
Okay, so when you say a line shaft, it's a shaft that goes all the way across the mill that has leather straps that come down off of that in order to turn it.
Yeah.
And it's got the great big dough paddle in there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is really cool. It's got an eagle on the front, says Champion.
Yeah.
Joliet.
I got another piece over here that's painted here, that little plow there. The definition of a sulky is a 1-bottom or 2-bottom plow that you can set on that's horse-drawn. I bought that plow from an ex-partner, J.R. Simplot, and he's an industrialist out of Boise, Idaho. So, and we can just kind of wander around through here. We've got homemade weed sprayers, some more bottom plows, disc plows, water wagons.
This water wagon's pretty cool. It's steel, it's riveted. And how many gallons do you think that holds? 200? 400.
400.
Yeah, it's a pretty good-sized tank.
I've got a 15-ton jack here, and I got a 60-ton railroad jack. It's got a 6.0 written on it, 60-ton railroad jack.
And a couple of fire plugs.
I've got something here that I usually point out. It's by research. This is a horsepower or horse sweep, and you'd put a beam in here 10 or 12 foot long, and you'd put 2-headed draft horses on here. So you'd put 8-headed draft horses on here and walk them in a circle. It's made in Battle Creek, Michigan, and it's the first source of power out on the farm. It was made before internal combustion engines and before steam engines. And this platform here is where the guy stood to control the team. And so it's a horsepower horse sweep to provide power to run a big sawmill or a big threshing machine.
Wow. Yeah. Now this thing is really cool looking. It's on a base that's probably 5 by 10, 5 by 8, something like that. And it's got this great big round plate on it that has gear notches in it. And you put these horses, draft horses, which are big, onto boards that came out. It's got these things to hold like 4x4s, I guess. Yeah. And you harness them up to that and just have those horses walk around in a circle all day long.
Yeah.
Wow.
So anyway,
that is really a neat piece.
We can go in here and we can kind of start looking at some of the stuff that I've got in here.
Oh man.
So.
Okay, so this garage is what? 40 by 120?
40 by 240.
40 by 240.
Yeah.
And it is packed.
Yeah. So.
Absolutely packed.
I see. So anyway, yeah. So. Anyway,
wow.
Yeah. So.
I guess we're looking at some tractors. We got, as we first walk in here, we see a majestic wood stove and a couple of sewing machines.
Yeah. Well, I've tried to widen my horizons. I started in '83 just collecting tractors, and now I've widened my horizons. I'm into artwork. I'm into steampunks. Here we're looking.
Yeah.
I've made about 25 or 30 steampunks here in the last month or so. And I put Edison bulbs on there, and some of them I plumb them for air so you can blow the steam whistles or run the gauges.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And then you hook them up to compressed air, or
Yeah.
you hook them up to...
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got a lamp over here that's a steampunk deal here, too.
Yeah. See, this one's I've already got the Edison bulb on it.
Wow.
Well, and I'm into making wine tasting tables and mantelpieces, chandeliers, all sorts of artwork.
And you're making these yourself?
Well, I'm commissioning them. I've got a friend
okay.
that's got an $800,000 laser that cuts this stuff for me.
Okay, and he's got a picture of a wagon train, probably on the Oregon Trail with a couple of oxen and a covered wagon and a couple people walking. And then this wine tasting table that he's got has glass on it. The tabletop is about 4 foot round, 5 foot round. And it's got little
clumps of grapes.
Clumps of grapes. Are those steel or are those?
They're sand casted.
Sand cast. Okay.
And I've got them mounted so you can move them. You can move them laterally or up or down. See, they're in all different positions.
And so you can see the wine grapes in cast while you're tasting your wine.
So, and I probably ought to give credit to my wife. Yeah.
Okay.
So, anyway, yeah, it's been difficult. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it looks like 2016.
Yeah, this past fourth anniversary of her passing.
Yeah, I lost my wife in 2015.
Ooh, I see.
So
well,
I kind of can relate.
Yeah.
Everybody takes it differently and all of that, but I can empathize with you.
So anyway, I've got a little bit of everything. Here's a one-row corn planter that come out of a farm out of Kansas. There's a really nice reaper.
Yes.
Operable.
And all of these things are painted up and restored.
Yeah.
You've got a coffee grinder. Is that what this is?
Yeah, a coffee grinder.
And what about this tractor? We've got an advanced straw burner.
Yeah, it took me about 25 years to negotiate for this from the family, and the deal was I was supposed to get it presentable, and I bit off a pretty good chunk here.
I was going to say presentable. Yeah. This thing is awesome. Yeah, you've got advanced decals and all painted up.
All that stuff.
And this is steam operated.
Steam,
and do you run this one?
No, I don't, because you need to have a boiler certificate before you put 400 gallon of water in here and build a fire. You need to. Yeah, there's a reason for boilerplate.
Right.
You kind of need to know what you're doing.
Is this one going to be certifiable at some point in time?
I've had a guy come by here from Michigan, and he did an ultrasound on it. We didn't hydro it up, but we did an ultrasound, and he thinks it's reasonable that the boiler's still sound. And the people I bought it from wanted to fire the boiler one more time before I restored it. But I says, I'm deep into this process of doing what I said I was going to do, is get this thing presentable, and if you do that, then I kind of got to start over, so I just don't do that.
Right.
So if the previous owner wanted to build a fire in here, that probably tells you he's pretty sure that nobody's going to get killed.
Right. Yeah. Well, either that or
or blown up. Scalded. Well, and see, I've tried to get my variety here. I've got 8 or 10 old wooden washing machines, and I've got old wooden butter churns, and I got the lithographs along on the wall. I've got all this shelf space, so I might as well put something up there. Some more butter churns. I got some vacuum cleaners here that most ladies don't know what they are. Them are vacuum cleaners.
We just went to the Museum of Clean in Pocatello, Idaho.
I see.
And he's got over 500 of these hand pump pre-electric vacuum, but
500.
Not just. He's got some that you stand on that have bellows underneath them, and you rock back and forth while the old lady was out doing the vacuuming. He's got another one that's in a chair.
I see.
So you come home, you sit down and read your newspaper and rock, and it worked the bellows, and your wife could be out there vacuuming the floor.
So he's one up on me because I haven't got 500. I got 3.
But 3 of them still pretty impressive. You just don't see those very often.
No. So some more old wooden washing machines, butter churns,
Some plows.
plows, nice water wagon, a nice original water bag. That's
Yes. Oh, yes.
mint.
That is really cool.
And the grease bucket to grease the wheels on these old wagons.
And what's is this another steam
Yeah, and this is
tractor?
a real early one. The engineers hadn't figured out how to gear these rear wheels. So this one you had to have 18 or 20 headed draft horses to pull it to the next location because it won't move. No gearing here to the rear wheels. It's a real early model.
So how did they
Hooked a tongue up there and pinned 15 or 20 headed draft horses on it, moved it, and then you belt it up to a threshing machine.
Oh, okay. So it was just stationary power.
That's the
And this
reason-
is a case?
Yeah, that's the reason for the seat up here. You had to set up here and control the team with a tongue.
Okay, I need to talk just a little bit about this to describe it to people. We've got a steam engine on big old metal tractor wheels, and there's a seat sitting on the front of this thing so that you could drive horses and pull it with a horse team to the next place. And then they would hook
belt
it
it
up
up.
to the old
Threshing machine.
threshing machine, or was there other equipment that it would drive to, or just the threshing machine?
It'd run a sawmill. Anything that were bell power, it'd run.
So this is like prior to the PTO, the power
Correct.
takeoff.
Yeah.
This is a big old steam power takeoff for running all kinds of farm machinery. Isn't this a neat piece?
Yeah, and I can scan my letters and have them cut in new vinyl so they're exact.
Right.
This is a 1908 steam
Okay.
engine. Yeah, and it's got the nice case eagle up there on the smokeback door.
And what is this? A corn
That's a corn sheller.
corn sheller?
It got donated to Sunrise Iron, and I did a full restoration of it.
And those you would put the whole corn cob in once it was dry, turn the wheel, and the corn would come out the backside so you could grind it into cornmeal or.
Yeah. So anyway, I've got a little 3-bottom plow here. I've got a wooden wheel grain drill over there that's got real nice Kentucky lettering on the back, a little 3-bottom plow. I've got road plows. In the early days, them old pole graders, you had to have road plows to go out and work up a little material because them graders didn't have no down pressure, so
Right.
you had to have road plows. And I've got a wooden beam road plow and a metal beam road plow. And see, they're different than agricultural plows. They're more heavy duty.
Okay.
For a gnarly environment.
And they've got and they're walk behind.
Walk behind.
So you had a horse pulling or.
Yeah. Well, so we can look at. I've got about 35 steel wheel tractors. They're and all of them are in running condition, except the first one up there. The first tractor we come to up there, there's only 2 of them left in existence, and it's the only tractor that I haven't ran.
And what kind of a tractor is it?
It's a 1915 model 1023 wheel case, and we can look at it if we don't run out of time here on the way back out of here.
Okay.
But we're into the tractors. I got real early Farmall regulars, and I got an F20 here. I got some a couple D John Deeres out of the Canadian-sponsored Ag Museum at West Tascan. I've got a 1917 1020 Titan. I got a F30 Duckbill, first year production of the F30s.
These tractors are all restored, all painted,
And they all run.
and they all run.
Yeah.
And these are just some of these tractors. The configurations on them are just really, really interesting. I don't even know, like the Titan over here, is just such an interesting looking tractor.
It's
with
not
the
the-
big flywheels and the belt pulleys.
It's
And
not the oldest tractor that I got, but it's the crudest. It's the crudest, yeah. So it's got an oiler on it, and it's got an air washer on it where you fill it with water, and it's speed changer, and it's 2-cylinder horizontal. I got a 1530 McCormick Deering, early model, 1728 Twin City.
this International's a really interesting looking tractor too.
This is an 816 1917, I think, without looking here.
And this one ran on kerosene.
Yeah, well, most of my tractors did run on kerosene. Yeah, it's a 1919.
Okay.
Yeah. Most of these tractors have got dual tanks on them, so you can run them on, start them on gas, switch them over to kerosene. I got a 1836 Hart Par, 1527, 1920 cross motor case, Another tractor come out of the Canadian-sponsored Ag Museum at West Tascan.
This is an interesting looking tractor too. It's really long.
Yeah, I've replaced all the tin work on this tractor. Here another D. John Deere come out of the Canadian-sponsored Ag Museum at West Tascan. I got a English Fortune and a Detroit Fortune. Then we start moving into my trucks and my water wagons and fuel tanks.
What year is this international water truck?
It's a 1918.
And it's got the hard rubber wheels,
Yeah,
wooden
hard rubber.
spokes.
It's a Model F, 1918 Model F Shovel Nose International that come out of Oklahoma.
Very interesting looking truck.
I try to get the wooden steering wheels and the horns and the lanterns and tail lights and the license plates back on my trucks. It's got a nice oval fuel tank on it. We start into my horse drawn equipment. I got potato planters, potato diggers, plows, water wagons. I got a 1918 Mack truck.
Chain driven.
drive.
Wow.
I've got some three Gilpin plows, a few cast iron seats, some more horse mowers.
Bunch of wood pulleys.
Yeah. Cross motor Minneapolis Type A that's hard to find.
This is interesting looking too.
Yeah. So 1919 GMC, another wooden box grain drill. I collect tools, steam pressure gauges, steam whistles. Yeah.
Yeah, we got steam whistles and pressure gauges that are, these ones here are huge. They're probably 18-inch diameter or so?
Yeah. And a big steam whistle come off of a steam-powered ship.
Okay. I'll bet it makes some noise. You hook those up and blow them every once in a while just for the fun of it?
It'd take a huge air compressor to run that sucker.
Well, how about that one right there? He's got a bellows in here that stands 6 foot tall.
Yeah. So anyway, and it's pretty good shape.
It is.
Still got the graphics on them. We got a doorknob collection come out of Victorian houses in upstate New York. I got 435 wrenches that I bought out of a 52-year collection that had all been researched and tagged, so we know what they are.
Just a lot of neat old wrenches.
Yeah, I've got
There's a lot. There's so much stuff in here. It's just unbelievable. Old drill press.
Yeah.
Now, was that hand crank?
Yeah, hand cranked.
Wow.
Rendered off a line shaft.
Line shaft.
I've got three 300-pound anvils, some more agricultural plows, Salem sample seed cleaner, stationary upright boilers.
That's an old blacksmith blower. Yeah, for the old forge. And this one here's got a long handle on it, and you pull the handle up and down.
This is the last tractor that I've been working on, 1630, 1916. And there's only supposed to be 9 of these left on the North American continent, and I would think that that's probably a pretty accurate number.
That's a neat looking old tractor too.
Weighs 8,000 pounds.
Wow.
I got the serial number tag for it here on the front. Here's the engine and the 11 feet Detroit oiler that I thought I was never going to find, but I found it. Justin Click that restores tractors for the rich and famous helped me find this. They have their main offices around Champaign, Illinois, to get the parts that were gone off of it.
It's amazing you can find parts for these old pieces.
I got a chuck wagon here. I got 2 freestanding coffee mills that got 33-inch diameter flywheels on them.
And those are really big coffee grinders.
I got a beet lifter, another wooden washing machine. This here is a 1893 steam engine, and this is the oldest steam engine that I got, and it's you have to pull it around with horses, no gearing to the rear wheels.
And so it was set up again to run the harvesters and.
Yeah. I collect. There's 1,100 cast iron seats out there, and I'm a member of the Cast Iron Seat Collectors Association, and so I've got about 92 or 93 cast iron seats.
Wow.
Some more one-horse mowers, pot-belly stoves, a little goat cart to haul milk in the early days. Haul milk out in this, and then bottles. and it's even got the little reflector on it.
Big old hose reel.
Hose reel to come out of upstate New York, a 4-person hose reel, a doctor's buggy, a truck here is a little giant made by Chicago Pneumatic Tool Company that I did a full restoration on it. It's 1918.
Wow.
Yeah, and I got some original wagons here, grain wagons that come out of Spokane and Portland, Oregon. Another a stationary steam engine.
This is just unbelievable. You have a nice collection.
Horse plows. Got a left-handed walking plow. Hard rubber tired John Deere mower. Some more short cutter bar horse mowers, cornstalk cutters, middle busters. Lots of things on the walls for the gals to look at. Gals really like them lithographs. Look at the colors of all the lithographs that were made before 1900. They're the centerfolds, and I take them out and laminate them up to keep the dirt and the moisture off of them.
From the old magazines.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and I kept cast iron drill ends. Anything that's got cast on it, that's got writing on it, I usually collect it. I paint my tractors all the original colors as near as I can get. And so...
and you get all the original stickers, and I mean, these things have all the warning stickers on them and all the everything. It's all completely decked out. This is just phenomenal.
Yeah, so anyway... And
there's so much to see. I mean, I think you could walk through here another 7 or 8 times and still be seeing things. Okay, now what is that, a butter churn?
Yeah, rocking butter churn. I bought it for the lithograph. Look at the lithograph. It's an Emerson Broadingham
Kangaroo Jiffy.
Yeah, and that's something, that lithograph on there.
Yeah, it has cams on it, and so it just rolls on around with the cams and shakes your milk or your cream until the butter happens. This is a really interesting looking machine. It almost looks like a grasshopper hopping.
Another one of my mantelpieces that I make. I sell them here at the Sunrise Iron and down at the Oregon Trail Interpretive Center on Flagstaff Hill out of Baker, up at the BLM place.
Right.
Yeah, I got a binder. I got a real early John Deere up there. I got a spoker flywheel John Deere, and I might as well say it once. There's stuff in this collection that I don't deserve to own, but it's here, and I'm providing it as good a home as I can possibly provide for it. But I'm not 501c3, so any donations get brass tags or give the family credit for donating this stuff, because I never have claimed to have ever done it by myself.
Well, and this is phenomenal, and I guess you're building another building, I heard.
I was going to, but the COVID virus messed up on my contractor's friend's life this winter and summer and fall. So hopefully in 2021 I can put a 40 by 140 or 160 foot addition on here, if I can afford it, to get the rest of my collection rounded up. I've got this is just 40 or 50% of my stuff. I've got buildings in other parts of Wallowa County that you can't even walk the aisles, and there's no motorized equipment there. It's all horse-drawn stuff that I've just restored and don't have room for, and it's just full. So the good Lord has blessed me with a lot of stuff.
Well, it must have blessed you with a lot of time, because I can't even imagine the amount of time that you've got
hours
in this stuff. I mean, this is just phenomenal.
Well, yeah, when I got this stuff, it was worse than basket cases. You think, what are you going to do now? Well, you got to just tackle one problem at a time and find all the little things and clean it and do the mechanic work and get them to run and make it look presentable, and then do the research to find out what colors and get the decals back on them and all them little things that make it look complete.
And if somebody's wanting to come here and take a look at your collection, we're winding down. We've taken your 30 minutes. We might end up with another 2 or 3 if that's okay.
Yeah, that would be just fine, because this is a part of my life. You can see I'm dead serious.
Oh, you are dead serious. This is just unbelievably cool. But if somebody is wanting to see this, are you open at regular hours, or do they need to call?
All they need to do is just rattle my cage, and I'll show up, because it's important in my life.
Okay, and what's the best way to, and what's your phone number? Do you mind handing that out? Or?
Yeah, area code 541-263-0755. And I can come here and I'll learn something, because I didn't grow up with this stuff, and the more I know about something, the more interesting it gets.
Well, that's, yeah, and the knowledge that you have to have acquired, just, I mean, working these things piece by piece has to give you unbelievable amounts of knowledge.
And
do you machine parts for these things also?
Oh, no, I got a 50-year retiree out of Boeing that machines my parts for me, but he's kind of passed away, so I'm kind of hunting for a real machinist. But I got a couple in the wings that helps me make the impossible.
Right.
10 places beyond the decimal point type of projects.
Well, that's just the support team you've got.
Yeah, the support team
is so important to some of this stuff.
Some of these pieces around here that I've got brass tags on them that give people credit for helping me to restore this, because I haven't done that by myself either. I've had a lot of help over the years.
Well, this is just an unbelievable collection, and I stopped off at the chamber or the information booth there in Joseph, Oregon, and she says, "Well, you need to get a hold of Earl," and I'm going, "Okay, what's?" And she handed me your little card.
Usually, what happens is you go out to some of these places, and anybody with $1 or $2 can go and buy that piece, can't they? And then it separates from the men from the boys. What happens after you part with your hard-earned money, and you roll it off your truck? And you let the weeds grow up around it, but it separates from the men from the boys, because this is ugly work, and it's expensive work, and you teach you patience. If you're in a little bit of a hurry, everything you touch on these antiques that day, you've ruined it, you've broke it. So I've just taken it to a whole nother level. I went to a lot of places. Oh yeah, they bought a whole bunch of stuff, and they rolled it off, and weeds grew up around it, and it's continued to deteriorate. So it tests your intestinal fortitude to take this process through and get them to run.
Oh,
but I didn't. That doesn't mean that I fixed everything to new specs. I just spent enough money to make them run, because my pockets are not too deep, and this is a little expensive hobby. It's kind of like jerking me around here a little bit.
Well, and this museum is by donation.
Yeah, by donation, but I never turn anybody away that don't have the money, because I lose, because then I missed a contact, I missed an association, and I missed giving them a card. So they can go home and they can help me find some more stuff, because I've been every place that I know where there might be anything at, and so I need help from people. And I canceled my 26th annual show here at Sunrise Iron because of COVID, but I still had a show. I says, well, if you show up here, I'm not going to turn you away. We'll still have some fun. So and that's how I get leads and phone numbers to where this stuff is at, because this is one big earth.
Oh, yes.
I can't find it all. Yeah.
So, yep, I love your attitude. I love what you've done. This is just phenomenal, and I encourage people. I've been encouraging people because I've always loved Joseph myself. This is a beautiful area. It really is.
Mountains.
Oh yeah.
Holy, and the Seven Devils over there that you can see from my doorstep here.
And you've got lakes around here. It's just
like 62 of them.
Yeah, it's just it's a recreational paradise, is what it is.
It's heaven.
And I thought it was heaven when I was living in Portland and coming out here hunting when I was in high school.
Out of Flora.
Yep. Yeah. And it's always been kind of a dear place in my heart.
Yeah.
But I would encourage anybody to come up this direction. If you're driving across Interstate 80, take off from La Grande, come north for the hour and a half. It's well worth your time. Give Earl a call. And if you got deep pockets somehow or another and you're looking for a place to maybe help a guy out with some projects, Earl is a doer. I can see from standing in here that Earl has done. And he gets things accomplished, because I can't imagine accomplishing this in a lifetime.
Yeah. Well, I did it since '83. But I'm kind of
and granted, you're a little bit older than me, but it is still a lifetime of work.
Pretty much.
And you're still farming, too. The reason we're on this tight schedule is because you're still farming.
Still pretending to, anyhow. If people say, you ever get this farming thing figured out? And I says, it's getting complicated just like everything else in this world.
So, I can imagine you're just probably one of the busiest men on earth.
People come by here and they say, when do you sleep and eat? Sometimes I wonder. When I do these other things. And so if we want to, we can go over to my shop and we can look at some of my other steampunks and some of my current projects we're working on. This just right across this creek here. If you
want we can sure do that, Earl, if you've got the time.
You've got the time. This is part of my life, as you can see. So why don't we talk about this tractor here a little bit?
Okay.
I'll emphasize it that I categorically do not deserve to own this thing, but the good Lord just wanted me to have it, and so it's a 1915 Model 1020 three-wheel case, and it was completely disassembled. I had to have a Boeing engineer help me make parts for it, and I give people, there's a brass tag back here that's going to be it's almost permanently attached for the people that helped me put the thing together. I'm not going to paint it for reasons, and I'm not going to run it but it's in running condition, but I'm not going to start it just because if anything goes wrong, sometimes a Boeing machinist can't even fix you. So it's just in running condition in its working clothes, and that's the way I'm going to leave it. Because there's only 2 of these left in existence, to my knowledge, that I've seen.
Wow! And this one ran on kerosene.
Yeah, or gas.
Or gas.
And I had to put it all together.
It's a really interesting looking machine in that you've got a great big flywheel. No, that's a drive wheel.
That's a drive wheel.
Oh, so it's got the 3 wheels in the back.
Yeah.
Not okay. I was counting 2 wheels and a single in the front, but this has a 3rd wheel in the back. That's the actual drive wheel.
Yeah.
It's like a bicycle with training wheels.
There you go. That's a good description.
And these outer wheels don't drive?
Well, this in here, if you go in a straight line and you could move this dog in and out, see there?
Oh, okay.
And then when you come to a corner, you got to disengage it because he's head you in a straight line by moving this lever here.
And
that would engage them dogs there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is really, really interesting.
Well, and you see, people think that arrow's up there for decoration. No, it isn't, because see, you're not even sitting on the center line of your wheel.
Right.
I can see you going by a building or a post and skinning your knuckles off over there.
Oh, yeah, because you're sitting completely off to the side.
Yeah, so anyway.
Wow.
Yeah, and see, it's got an aluminum block engine in it, and this is a 1914 or 13 car engine that the engineers put in their first tractors.
Okay.
And see, it's aluminum block.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wow, this is just
another one of my mantelpieces that I authorized built. So now we can kind of go over here to my shop. I might as well give you guys a card while I'm here. I give people cards so they can help me find stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I see your donation box there, so I'm gonna.
You know better than that. You don't have to donate to anything to Sunrise Iron.
I know, but
I will say one thing: there's no admin fees here. Whatever goes in that box, there's 100%, 101% of that goes into my next project.
Well, yeah. I just gave you a couple of pesos there for your next project.
Well, that's very thoughtful of you guys.
And I appreciate you taking the time this morning too.
Yeah.
But yeah, so with what you're doing, I can't hardly walk out of here without dropping a little bit there in the donation box.
Well, and that's muchly appreciated. So anyway, so you got the full Wallowa Mountains here. You got where the gondola goes up there at the lake, and then you got Chief Joseph Mountain, and then this is the most famous one. This is Ruby Peak, and if it wasn't so smoky today, you could see the Seven Devils.
Well, and I was wanting to take the tram ride, but it was so smoky yesterday. I thought once I get up there, I'm not going to see anything anyway.
Yeah.
So we took the ride down the canyon to Imnaha. And that's a beautiful ride too.
Yeah, especially in the spring when the flowers are all in bloom. Yeah. So we're going over here to look at my shop where I do the restorations. And when you get into my shop, you'll find out that I've outgrown it too. Yeah. So I have to work out of somebody else's shop. Anyway, these are just projects that are in the process of getting restored.
You've got an old Republic farm truck?
Yeah, this is the oldest truck I got. It come out of Whitebird, south of Grangeville, 1912 Republic, and I've did a full restoration on it. I don't have it running yet, but I'm not going to have to paint it because it's got a whole bunch of nice yellow paint on it, and it's hard rubber, wooden spoke wheels, and I got the lanterns and the wooden steering wheel and the license plates and the horns and all them kinds of things.
Well, I know why you're not going to move it.
Yeah.
This is your workbench for all of your steampunk.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when we're talking steampunk, he's got lamps and different things that he's making with old pressure gauges and steam whistles and valves and all of that kind of stuff all plumbed together with black pipe and painted up, and these are just really, really cool.
And this is some of the brass that I've collected over the last 40 years. So I think I've made 22 or 23 steampunks here in the last 6 weeks.
Oh, wow.
You know?
On top of doing your other work.
On top of trying to make a living. Just fun.
Yeah, and these are really cool. And we will probably have some pictures of these on my Facebook page, Where Am I to Go, on Facebook. And we'll have some pictures for people to take a look at.
I've got 2 over there that I'm fiddling with them to make them easy on the eye. I got one leaned up against my bolt bend and another one in the vise. And then I got a nice cute one here for you gals that in the design process. And
that's all out of what? 1/8-inch pipe?
1/8-inch pipe.
1/8-inch pipe.
And there's a million combinations here. And so you just kind of fiddle around with them, and then you only take a part, this one section at a time, because you can't get them back exactly, because there's a million combinations here. With my 3 brain cells, I mixed up with take it apart and say, paint it, and then how did this go back together to make it look like this? You need to take a picture of it with a smartphone, and I still can't get it together right. So anyway,
Then you've got more seats on your wall in here. You've got 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, there's
3 tractors plus the truck plus 2 planters.
Yeah. So anyway, well, and I'm started into the sewing machines for these gals to look at. I just started getting sewing machines here a couple months ago, and I've got some pretty nice ones. This and here is a really nice one. Yeah, is
this one here? This is a new Royal treadle sewing machine.
I've got a new thing going on with the Willow County Museum. They're going to start putting on permanent loan some of their stuff that they don't have room for. But I've got the same problem they do.
She kind of mentioned that yesterday. If you wondered where I heard that you were building a new shop, we were talking to Jude yesterday.
Jude.
Jude.
She's the one that's responsible for me getting this and this. Jude. Yeah, old Jude. Now you talk about a workaholic. She'll put you under the table working.
Oh, she was a lot of fun to do the museum there. Yeah.
So these are on permanent loan from Jude.
Okay. Yeah. Permanent loan, and Earl will fix.
Yeah, pretty much. Because they didn't look like this when I got them, of course.
Oh.
But that doesn't mean that I've got this restoration thing always figured out either.
Right.
There's always something to master. Yeah. So.
And then this one here's a new home.
Yeah. This is actually my late wife's.
Okay.
I didn't realize it was so nice until I went and got it here a couple of weeks ago and did a kind of a real light restoration of it.
And this one here, is this treadle?
It's treadle.
Okay, but the sewing machine, we're looking at a box that's maybe 2 foot by 2 foot square.
Yeah.
And then the machine folds down inside the table.
Yeah.
Has the working table that folds over the top of that. And so this whole thing would sit in a corner or something real easily, and then you could fold it out when you had a sewing project to do.
And look at the graphics on that.
Oh, I know. It's amazing what they did. The old sewing machines are really, really gorgeous as far as the painting and the lettering on them and everything else. They're just works of art. But so much of the old stuff was works of art.
Yeah, they was really proud of their workmanship, and when labor didn't cost them $50 an hour, they could put a lot of craftsmanship and pinstriping and.
You have a
1918 Fordson on a track frame, and I found it in the weeds and the tumbleweeds of Pasco, and it was all disassembled. And it's a 1918 by serial number on a track frame called a traction. It's just a little modification of a Fordson wheel tractor.
But it has tracks, and it's probably the earliest track vehicle I have ever seen.
Yeah, it's the earliest one that I've ever seen, but there's probably some that earlier that I'm not aware of.
And then you've also got a little track walk-behind tractor.
Yeah, made by R.M. Wade and Company in Portland, Oregon. It's got a little one-cylinder motor on it, and it's on tracks. Little garden cultivator type tractor. And so anyway, I just try to keep my shop presentable because it gets me up to 10,000 square foot of display area.
Right.
And so anyway.
Well, I sure appreciate your time, Earl. I know you're on a schedule.
We've got some time because I've just got my marching orders, so we can visit with you a little more here and see.
Okay.
See if there's some other things of some interest here. Like I say, I was anticipating getting an addition built on there. this time when I put an addition on there, I made that west wall so you can just take the tin off of it and my door and move it down to the next increment there. You can kind of see right there on the tin where I added on, and I was hoping to get that done this summer, but it's not going to happen. So it would be really good if I could get all my stuff that the good Lord has blessed me with out here to this location, and so that's what I need to try to do, but that's going to be an expensive proposition. It's going to cost me probably maybe $75,000 to put on an addition onto that building.
And that's kind of inexpensive for adding on a 40 by another 125.
Yeah, it could be because
section.
It's pole barn. It's not steel.
Yeah, and you had dirt floor, so you don't have a lot of concrete work. But
yeah, no electricity over there, but I got nice light panels over there, so you don't think that you're in some old dark, dingy barn someplace.
No, you were able to see in there very, very well.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, so I'm continuing to look for stuff, and I just encourage people to go home and try to dig some stuff out for me and give them names and phone numbers, and I'm really diplomatic with people. If I see that there's sentimental value, I leave them alone. But you know, there's a real fine line there between showing too much interest in stuff and yeah, I've bugged them a little bit too much, and then not showing enough interest, and the family decides to change their mind and sell it or give it away. Why then they say, well, Earl, you didn't show enough interest. We kind of forgot about you. So there's a real fine line there on how much interest you show in something.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. The point of offend and
offend. Yeah.
And still show the interest.
Yeah. So anyway, so yeah, I mentioned that I graduated from Western State College in Gunnison, Colorado, with a degree in economics and another degree in business administration, and it was during the Vietnam War, and that's a pretty good incentive to get in the books and apply yourself, and I use a lot of my school applications in the farming industry, because it's getting complicated, and it's kind of money hungry. Farming is an expensive industry.
They got a really nice museum in Gunnison. I don't know if you've been back down there in the last several years.
I haven't been there in 50 years.
Okay, well, I was through there maybe 4 years ago, and beautiful museum there. They've got lots of cars and a telephone museum.
I see.
So at some point in time, I want to get back down there and do one of the podcasts there.
Yeah. They did have the biggest letter in the world there, the big W up on the hill, and that stands for Western State. It's a university now at Gunnison. Yeah, I spent 4 years there.
And that's beautiful country.
Yeah, it is. By the Blue Mesa Reservoir and the Crested Butte ski area,
Black Canyon of the Gunnison.
Yeah,
that was a pretty interesting place. Like I said, that's an area of the country I want to get back down to.
Yeah. Well, you'll be back to Gunnison Western State College before I am, so I hope you enjoy it. But they put a lot of money in Western State College. There's a lot of people that have been successful in the business world and donated a lot of money back to my alma mater.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, anyway. You live in a beautiful, beautiful part of the country.
Yeah. Well, that's the reason we end up here. I was born in Steamboat Springs, and that's right at the base of the Continental Divide. And we went on when LTV Aerospace Corporation bought the ski area in 1969. It was a place kind of like Alder Slope, right up to the base of the Continental Divide there in Steamboat. And one day it wasn't there, and the next day it was, and Dad says it's time to move. Well, you can imagine what a 13-story building looks like in Steamboat Springs, Colorado. The climate's changed. When Dad seen that, he says it's time to move, and we took off on a 2-month ordeal. And on way back home, we just happened to get off the interstate and come up through Enterprise. We got in here at 6 o'clock one evening, and we looked at these mountains, and it reminded us of home. So by the next day, we had a 120-acre or 200-acre place bought, because the good Lord just blessed. It reminded us of home. But you can actually raise something here at Steamboat. People say, "What'd you raise at Steamboat?" And I says, "A good crop of snow."
Right.
Because of the elevation. We raise cows and one cutting of hay, but at 4,000 foot, why, we can raise grain crops here, and alfalfa crops, and timothy, and wheat and barley, and alfalfa, mustard and canola, and them kinds of things.
Well, they got a pretty nice ski resort there at Steamboat now.
Yeah, well, yeah, that was Ski Town, USA when I was in high school. They trained more Olympic skiers there than any place else. That's probably not true today, but I haven't been back there in 50 years. Yeah.
All the rolling go.
Okay, well, thank you for your time, Earl. You know, the world is full of wonder. People need to get out and explore. They do.
Get outside the box.
And I hope everybody listening has an absolutely wonder-filled day.